right now on 5 on Your Side at 10.
A major escalation in the Middle East. A barrage of Iranian missiles aimed at Israel. Tonight, the growing concerns in the Jewish community here in St. Louis.
And it feels like here we go again.
Jacket weather. A chilly start to Wednesday, but it doesn't last long. The changes we made to the weekend forecast.
Our top story, cops out in the community mending fences in Ferguson.
When you can actually get out in the community and have informal conversations, I think those are the best conversations.
Tonight, Ferguson police were the talk of the town. Good evening, I'm Mike Bush.
And I'm Kelly Jackson. The city hosted several National Night Out events, and for some neighborhoods, this is the first time in years. New tonight, 5 on Your Side's Laura Barczewski takes us along for the ride.
It's been somewhat of a tough year for the city of Ferguson and its police department after Officer Travis Brown was injured by a protester on the anniversary of Michael Brown's death, making events like National Night Out even more important.
People that live in Ferguson, they're very passionate about this community, and they want to see good things not only out of this community, they want to see good things out of this police department. I think over the past year and a half, we've been able to enhance those relationships, and our goal is to continue to improve.
Come on down!
Cassandra Butler is one of those passionate residents. She's on the police steering committee and offered to co-host one of the National Night Out gatherings.
Our neighborhood hasn't had one in at least 20 years. And there's a lot of new neighbors and some older neighbors, so it's just good for us to come out and meet each other.
Chief Troy Doyle and a small group from the police department stopped at 3 different neighborhoods to talk with residents to not only meet them, but also hear their concerns.
Before the inventions of the computers and stuff in the cars, officers got out of their cars and they did a lot of these type of things. So we got to get back to doing these things. We realize how important it is.
Butler says she's seen positive change in the Ferguson Police Department and believes what they're doing is working.
I'm pretty pleased with the police department we have now, and it is not the police department we had in 2014 or 2017 when we had the consent decree. So we are changing, we are getting better.
Reporting in Ferguson, Laura Barczewski, 5 on Your Side.
Chief Doyle says it is one of his main goals to host and attend more community events, and there will be many more to come.
Tonight, millions in Israel are in bomb shelters after Iran launched a devastating missile attack on the country. The Iranian media says the attacks are in response to Israeli strikes in Lebanon that killed hundreds, including multiple Hezbollah leaders. Israel also launched a ground invasion into the country yesterday. U.S. lawmakers are condemning today's Iranian attack and fearing an all-out war.
I heard that we are nominally increasing the number of U.S. military forces in the Middle East as a precautionary measure. I'm worried about that. I don't want us engaged in another war.
Iran launched close to 200 missiles into Israel. Israel says Hezbollah has fired more than 8,000 rockets towards Israel since last October in support of Hamas.
Jewish leaders here in the St. Louis area are reacting to Iran's attack on Israel. Robert Townsend continues our coverage from the newsroom.
Kelly, I talked to a leader at the Jewish Federation of St. Louis in Creve Coeur and a rabbi, both of whom have growing concerns following Iran's latest attack on Israel.
I was incredibly worried for my literal brother and sister.
All-day senior rabbi Jeffrey Abraham of Congregation B'nai Emunah in Creve Coeur couldn't stop thinking about his siblings and millions of people who live in Israel. His fears kept growing as U.S. officials say overnight Iran kept firing nearly 200 missiles on the country.
I'm really infuriated that this was happening, a direct attack on innocent people.
Rabbi Abraham was teaching his current events class at the Creve Coeur Synagogue at the time of the attack. Several of his students live in Israel and were in class via Zoom.
We could hear the sirens. I mean, it was crazy, and it's so terrifying because you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know if you're going to be hit.
His sister, brother, and brother's family among the many who ran for their lives and hid in bomb shelters as missiles kept streaking across the sky.
It was eerie. You're watching it in real time.
Karen Scher is Vice President of Community Impact at the Jewish Federation of St. Louis. She too was on a Zoom call with colleagues who have partnerships in Israel when they heard the Iran attack.
They had to go to a shelter. They came back out of the shelter. Sirens went off again.
Now, nearly 1 year after the October 7th anniversary of the deadly Hamas attack on Israel, and hours before the start of Rosh Hashanah, New Year celebrations, security remains heightened at synagogues and Jewish facilities.
We're ready. We're prepared.
My prayer right now is really for peace.
Robert Townsend, 5 on your side.
Tonight, the death toll from Hurricane Helene is staggering. Now more than 150 people.
And officials say that number is expected to grow as local leaders estimate recovery could take years. Supply drops are now bringing aid to multiple areas still without power. President Biden ordering federal agencies to deliver more meals, medical supplies, and water.
We have to jumpstart this recovery process. People are scared to death. People wonder whether they're going to make it. We still haven't heard from a whole lot of people. This is urgent. People have to know how to get the information they need. So we'll be there until this work is done.
Right now, Ameren Missouri crews are on the ground helping with hurricane relief. The company sent these pictures tonight showing crews working to restore power to parts of Tennessee and Virginia. Ameren has sent more than 300 workers from Missouri and Illinois to multiple states to help. There is still no timeline for how long they'll be there.
Well, calm and cool here in St. Louis tonight, and you're going to need a coat in the morning.
Yeah, let's get right over to Chief Meteorologist Scott Connell with your weather impact forecast.
Yeah, I think a couple of layers heading out the door. Tomorrow's one of those days where you send the kids off with that coat or the jacket in the morning, and then you don't see it again for a couple of weeks because it disappears at school. So there's the sunset from tonight. Skies mainly clear, just a few high thin clouds coming in, but we're at our low temperature so far for the day, down to 59 degrees as that dry air has settled in across the region, and even cooler in some of the outlying areas right now. Edwardsville's 55, 56 in O'Fallon, Missouri, as well as in Arnold. It's 58 in Cahokia Heights. Our temperatures tomorrow morning, they are going to start out on the cool side. Most of us are in the 40s, even in town early tomorrow morning. The wind's settling down. There could be a little fog in the river valleys, but not much. And then we'll eventually start to see those temperatures warm. We're talking about temperatures that in the outlying areas tomorrow morning could very well be near 40 degrees in some of the coolest spots. Warmer later in the week and into the weekend. We're talking more about that in 10 minutes.
Developing tonight, we're learning more about the man accused of shooting his girlfriend at Ameristar Casino. Government documents show that Calvin Kuhn is the owner of a popular Olivet restaurant, Taika Shabu Shabu. Kuhn is charged with first-degree domestic assault, kidnapping, and armed criminal action in connection with the shooting early Saturday morning. Police say the victim is still in critical condition. Police ended a months-long search for a missing woman after finding her remains in DeSoto. Emily Strite disappeared back in April. The 33-year-old was last seen near DeSoto. A property owner on Frisell Road called police after finding the remains. Police then used medical and dental records to identify Strite. Police are still investigating her cause of death. Right now, St. Louis police are looking for the driver who hit 3 women outside a nightclub.
It happened on Washington Avenue after a fight spilled out onto the street. Police say the 3 victims were trying to stop the fight when someone involved got into a car and drove into them. One woman broke her leg while the others have less severe injuries. Police say they've had multiple calls to this club and are working to address problems at the property.
The first thing we check every time is like, do they have the proper permits, their licenses? And then we'll do an investigation on that, and we'll take the steps to try to close the establishment if needed.
Gunshots were also reported during the fight. Police say no one was hit. If you have information, you should call Crime Stoppers. It is an anonymous tip line, 866-371-TIPS. Today, St. Louis Police Department started a new effort to share more about crime statistics and crime trends. Chief Robert Tracy held the office's first quarterly report. The department plans to hold these 4 times a year with the press. Tracy shared that crime compared to this time last year is down 18%. But he added burglaries are on the rise. City leaders say it's a step in the right direction in keeping everyone safe.
This also serves as an opportunity for us to continue to increase transparency in policing so residents can stay in the know and help be a part of the solution as we continue to see a decrease in crime in our city.
These numbers are also listed on the department's website. The next report will be in 3 months. New tonight, brand new initiatives to get mental health support to people in St. Louis as soon as they need it.
It includes not only a support app for middle school students, but also a brick and mortar location downtown where anyone can show up in a crisis. 5 on Your Side's Brent Solomon is live now to explain. Brent?
Well, Mike Kelly, you might remember a couple of years ago, Missouri launched the 988 crisis hotline. Right now, anyone can call it 24/7 when you need mental health support. Well, now a local group says it's time to turn things up a notch. When you need help, you need help. Mental health experts say they're trained for this.
So if folks are having any kind of a crisis after hours, instead of having to go to the hospital system or getting arrested or having any other issues, they can come and drop in at the center and receive treatment immediately.
Tiffany Lacey Clark, the CEO of Behavioral Health Response, is referring to a new space opening up here on Washington Avenue. It will be open 24/7.
There'll be recliners, some space for people to change, take a shower, get clean clothes, some snacks to go, and be able to sit down and talk to somebody.
It's part of several efforts the group just announced to get mental help to more people, including children. They're rolling out a new app where experts can see if something is wrong when young people are at school or at home.
And if there is something that's triggered, we will respond at BHR. Right in the app, they can get text messaging, telling them how to control their breathing, telling them to just think about some things, and giving them basic skills that can get them past that moment. If it's a little bit more intense, we can give them video counseling.
If things escalate, experts will show up around the clock. Behavioral Health is also developing after-school programs at Card Lane CVPA Middle and at Gateway Middle.
The difference with our program is we'll have clinicians there. So kids can have fun, they can learn, but they can also get some treatment.
Some innovative ways to reach the needs of the community. As the needs shift, the agency has to shift, and how we deliver services have to shift.
And right now, the agency is in talk with school districts and with families who might be interested in that app. By the way, the new crisis center expected to open early next year. We're live downtown. Brent Solomon, 5 on Your Side.
A Veep face-off.
And we need the steady leadership that Kamala Harris is providing.
Who has been the vice president for the last 3.5 years? And the answer is your running mate, not mine.
The vice presidential candidates just walked off the debate stage. The standout moments for J.D. Vance and Tim Walz.
Rain chances over the next 7 to 10 days are limited in our part of the world. An update on a late weekend cold front and what it means for your outdoor plans.
Well, within the last 30 minutes, a heated and high-stakes debate wrapped up between Minnesota Governor Tim Walz and Ohio Senator J.D. Vance.
This was the first face-off for the vice presidential candidates and likely the final debate in the race for the White House. Our political editor, Mark Maxwell, is here with all the highlights.
Yeah, Mike and Kelly, good evening. We just witnessed a polite, personal debate, a throwback to a kinder, gentler political era on guns, on abortion, on the environment. Senator J.D. Vance started each of those answers paying respect to the concerns of the other party. Both candidates said at times they agreed with each other, and we even heard apologies from these politicians, either for misstatements they've had in the past or changing their views. Here are just some of those clips.
So the rhetoric is good. Much of what the senator said right there, I'm in agreement with him on this.
And I honestly, Tim, I think you got a tough job here.
But I've not been perfect, and I'm a knucklehead at times.
And I was wrong about Donald Trump. I was wrong, first of all, because I believed some of the media stories that turned out to be dishonest fabrications of his record. And yeah, when you screw up, when you misspeak, when you get something wrong and you change your mind, you ought to be honest with the American people about it. That we have to increase security in our schools. We have to make the doors lock better. We have to make the doors stronger. We've got to make the windows stronger.
Well, I think all the parents watching tonight, this is your biggest nightmare. Look, I got a 17-year-old, and he witnessed a shooting at a community center playing volleyball. Those things don't leave you. But I ask all of you out there, do you want your schools hardened to look like a fort? Is that what we have to go when we know There's countries around the world that their children aren't practicing these types of drills.
Senator.
Tim, first of all, I didn't know that your 17-year-old witnessed a shooting. I'm sorry about that, and I hope that he's doing okay. Christ have mercy. It is awful. And I appreciate what Tim said, actually, about Finland, because I do think it illustrates some of the frankly, weird differences between our own country's gun violence problem and Finland. Okay, first of all, we have way higher rates of mental health abuse, or mental health substance abuse. We have way higher rates of depression, way higher rates of anxiety.
There's a lot more there. Moderators draw a lot of substance out of the candidates tonight during that debate. There's going to be a lot of time to score all the facts there, but on style, on technique, J.D. Vance won a lot more points than Tim Walz tonight, whose voice often came across stressed or high-pitched. The election just 7 weeks from tonight.
If it's a fight they want,
Tonight, close to 50,000 dock workers are on strike, leaving all major ports along the East Coast closed. Workers are demanding higher pay and better protection from being replaced by automation. Supply chains for a wide array of items are already disrupted, and prices could increase depending on the length of the strike.
We're going to do it as long as it needs to be done. Okay? This is not something that you start and you stop. We're not weak. We're not weak. What we control, as far as the economy is concerned, okay, is unbelievable.
President Biden is already calling for both sides to return to the negotiating table.
Panera Bread is making cuts to its corporate office. The St. Louis Business Journal confirmed the cuts earlier today. Members of the company's support center staff were either fired or reassigned. Panera officials say it's part of their ongoing strategic plan. They didn't say how many employees were affected.
Chief Meteorologist Scott Connell joins us now with the weather impact forecast, and it's going to have an impact in the morning when your kids go to the bus stop. It's going to be a little chilly, Scott.
A little on the chilly side out there tomorrow morning. Already getting there. Some of our outlying areas have dropped back into the 50s. Actually, most of the outlying areas are in the 50s. Even Lambert here has dropped back a bit. The good news is we see most of the planes there at Terminal 2 already have the tail lights out, so they are set and ready to go for tomorrow morning's flights. You look at a few high thin clouds drifting in. That's about it. High pressure is really trying to build in here tonight. It's a cool chunk of air from Canada that's over us. That front has moved on to the east of us. We were not able to get any showers squeezed out of that, and it doesn't look like the opportunity for rain is going to present itself around St. Louis anytime soon. 59 right now. That becomes the new low for the day. 65 was our morning low. We made it up to 76. By the time we get to midnight, we'll probably be in the mid-50s, so we'll likely average out pretty close to a typical October 1st in St. Louis, even though it didn't start that way. Overnight low temperatures in the coolest spots, lowest spots under a mainly clear sky. With a little river fog, we drop back to around 40. Most of us are in the mid to upper 40s. We'll head back into the 70s under a bright sky as we go through tomorrow. We look at the next 10 days. This is your rainfall going through next Friday, not this Friday, all the way through the weekend into next week. And this is from the ensembles. Again, very little chance for any substantial rain anywhere close to St. Louis through next Friday. So mainly dry conditions. Of course, we check the tropics. While things are generally quiet, given what we went through last weekend with Helene in the southeast, we will be watching this area. Hurricane Center does say that there's a 40% chance of development over the next week or so. One thing is for sure, it will stream quite a bit of moisture and heavy rainfall across the state of Florida. That is a hurricane, Kirk, out here in the Atlantic. It's way out in the open water. It'll turn to the north, not impacting land at all and having no impact on our weather. And we, at this point, don't see what we have going in the Gulf as being problematic here over the next few days. All right, so locally, lots of sunshine around here. Temperatures expected to stay in the 70s as we head through tomorrow, back into the 80s Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We go into the weekend, almost kind of a bonus weekend here with your temperatures in the mid-80s on Saturday, getting close to 90 as you go out towards Kansas City, even in the 90s from Omaha down to Tulsa and Wichita. But you see the effects of that front. Yes, there'll be a breeze here on Sunday, and that front slides in later in the day. And that means we'll start next week with cooler conditions, but that front brings no rain. So mostly sunny skies still expected into next week.
But in the morning, bring out those sweaters and hoodies.
Yeah, we're going to need a little jacket tomorrow morning.
All right, Scott. All right, Corey is next with sports.
Well, the Blues started their final stretch towards the regular season. The MLB playoffs got underway without the Cardinals, and Mizzou football is preparing for its toughest test yet. Stick around. Sports is up next.
This 5 on Your Side Sports Report is sponsored by Telly Tire and Auto Centers, driving your way since 1942.
Well, a week from right now, the St. Louis Blues will have a win or a loss on their regular season record. Over the next 7 days, there are still some things to figure out, though. Tonight's preseason bout against Columbus gave Drew Bannister more information to help make those roster decisions. Tonight's game against Columbus started with a moment of silence for late Blue Jacket Johnny Gaudreau and his brother Matthew, who died tragically this offseason. On the ice, the Blues started the scoring. Justin Falk gets it in a good spot, sends it home, 1-0 note. Jackets got back on top. Yegor Chinnikov would score first, and then Gavin Brindley would make it 2-1 Columbus. Eventually, the third period got a little bit chippy. Tyler Tucker going to go at it with Matthew Olivier. A couple big shots landed there. Blues couldn't land any more shots after that, though. Columbus wins 3-1. Well, it's October 1st, and that means it is time for playoff baseball. We won't see any in St. Louis this year, but today's schedule of 4 games, all back-to-back, felt a bit like March Madness for baseball fans. First up, A.J. Hinch back in Houston with the Tigers for Game 1 of their wild card series. How about the local kids? CBC's Matt Vierling up the middle. That made it 3-0 Tigers at that point. Likely Cy Young winner Tarek Skubal was dominant. 6 innings, no runs. Astros threatened in the 9th, but Jason Hayward lines out to first base. Detroit takes Game 1, 3-1. Royals and Orioles in Baltimore to open that series. Sea of Orange at Camden Yards today. Guess who starts the scoring? Of course, it's Bobby Witt Jr., the Royals star. Singles to left to make it 1-0 KC in the 6th. And that would stay on the rest of the day. Royals shut out the Orioles for the 1-0 victory in Game 1. Mets facing the NL Central champion Brewers. This game was back and forth. Jackson Chourio ties it at 3 in the 4th inning. Then in the 5th, Mark Vientos comes through for New York with the bases loaded. Mets up 6-4. New York would close it out to take Game 1 on the road, 8-4 over the Brew Crew. And finally, Padres and Braves in the nightcap, and Fernando Tatis Jr. absolutely obliterates this ball in the 1st inning. A 415-foot shot made it 2-0 Padres. Yeah, I think he knew he got all that one. Michael King was impressive for San Diego tonight on the mound. 7 innings, no runs, 12 strikeouts. Kyle Higashioka got into one late for the Padres to pad the lead. San Diego takes Game 1 over Atlanta, 4-0. Meanwhile, the Cardinals are watching the postseason from their recliners for the 2nd season in a row. Yesterday's press conference laid out the John Mozeliak succession plan and commitment to investment in development. And the Cards brass emphasized their belief for young players in the system.
We want to put a lot of time, energy, and money into being on that innovative side of maximizing player performance. Certainly when you look at the group right now of our top prospects, there's a lot to be excited about, not to mention we have 5 or 6 players on our current roster that are under 25. So I really feel like the overall vibe of what's happening in our organization is a lot more positive than maybe people are making it out to be. But ultimately, we know we can find better ways to do things, and that's ultimately our goal.
The bye week is over for Mizzou football, and for the first time this season, they'll leave the friendly confines of Faurot Field. The undefeated number 9 team in the country will have one of the toughest tests in college football, a road game at Kyle Field against Texas A&M. The stadium holds over 100,000 people, and the Tigers have simulated the sound they expect to face this week in practice.
105,000 people who, are joined forces and trying to, create distractions for your team. So you're going to have to be able to block out the noise.
As long as we execute, the crowd won't be loud. The noise at practice is actually louder. They put these big speakers, pretty much 2 feet right behind me. We've been doing that every single rep this week.
Certainly a big challenge, but also a big chance for Mizzou to prove themselves on Saturday.
That is a good point. Thanks, Corey.
Lampert is looking to book a new nonstop international flight. They have landed on a destination, but the ETA is still up in the air. St. Louis is bidding for another nonstop flight to Europe. Our partners at the St. Louis Business Journal say officials are working with Aer Lingus to get flights to Dublin, Ireland. It's not clear clear what stage the deal is in currently. Both Lambert, St. Louis International Airport, and Aer Lingus declined to comment.
Clementine's Ice Cream is giving out new treats ahead of Halloween. The local ice cream shop announced 4 new festive flavors at all of its locations. Those flavors are Midnight Cherry Bite, Hot Honey Cinnamon, Vegan Franken Crunch, and Pumpkin Orange Cardamom.
They all sound great.
Scott has a final check of the weather.
Almost sounds like you could have some of that for breakfast if it
Yeah.
has some health value.
Possibly.
Yeah, sure. Okay, it's cool tomorrow morning, though. Temperatures in the 40s, back into the mid-70s tomorrow afternoon. More sunshine is on the way for the next several days. If you need rain, which some of us southwest of St. Louis still on the dry side, it just doesn't look like that opportunity presents itself over the next couple of weeks.
And there you have it, 5 on your side at 10. The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon is next.
Be sure to start your day with Today in St. Louis, beginning at 4 a.m. Have a great tomorrow.